BlocAlt Consulting is a consulting firm dedicated to the nonprofit sector. I've been a veteran of the financial services world for just shy of 20 years, working for two major asset management firms here in the greater Boston area over that time, when I was exposed to cryptographic currencies in 2013. And since that time, I've been on a mission to evangelize the benefits that blockchain can bring. I founded BlocAlt Consulting because I found that the nonprofit sector wasn't necessarily getting the same backdraft or tailwind that the for-profit sector was getting, primarily in financial services at this early stage of blockchain adoption. So my mission over the past year and a half with BlocAlt Consulting was to kind of evangelize to the nonprofits that they really need to prepare for this oncoming revolution that has already taken place, and prepare their operations for adoption of this technology that will dramatically improve the lives of people in emerging markets as well as lower economic classes here in the developed world.
Wow. So imagine you're not working with the small nonprofit type of kind of...
Correct. The targets are the large international non-governmental organizations that do have a footprint in the developing world. Mm-hmm. And they'll be able to benefit from blockchain technology, the way I see it, in four distinct areas. For those that don't know, the first application on blockchain is cryptographic currencies, and you may have heard of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Those are the first ones to really take hold of the technology. Moving forward, there'll be other applications, so you should look at the blockchain as you would the internet. The first major application on the internet was email. Since that time, we have B2B business relationships, we have all kinds of social networks that have cropped up subsequent to the advent of the internet. The blockchain is the same way, the first application being cryptographic currencies and asset transfers. I work with migrant laborers in the Central Valley of California who are sending remittances back to their countries of origin, and for years they've been kind of hijacked by the Western unions and MoneyGrams of the world, who charge them incredible fees for the privilege, quote unquote, of sending money back to their countries of origin. And to be able to do that via the blockchain and via a number of vendors that are out there, they can do it for literally pennies on the dollar to get those assets back to their country of origin. So that's the first, the cryptographic currency and asset transfer. The second area that I see a profound impact on the developing world is land title. And for those of us that live in the developed world, we take that for granted. Even though it is somewhat of a mess here in the developed world, the fact that we have to buy title insurance when we purchase a house, for example, we're basically buying that insurance in the hopes that no one has made a mistake somewhere along the chain of owning that particular parcel of land. Well, in the developed world, you may or may not, or in the developing world, you may or may not have a centralized organization that maintains those records. So if a property owner in, say, Guatemala, for example, wants to prove that he or she is owner of that parcel of land, they can put that record into the blockchain. It'll be a single source of truth and eventually recognized by authorities around the world. And that'll give people in the developing world a stakehold in the economy. They can use that parcel of land for a loan, to collateralize a loan for a startup of a business. So that's the second thing, land title. The third area is identity. Identity is a huge game changer as far as the developing world's concerned. So for example, I work for a local asset management firm here that had a significant investor base in Latin America, and they were investing in the Luxembourg funds of this particular firm. Luxembourg has very stringent anti-money laundering regulations. If you're investing in a financial institution that is based in Luxembourg, you have to be sure the individuals that you're hosting as investors are who they say they are. And most financial institutions register the Latin American countries as high risk because there's a very loose centralized structure. And bad actors can come and go, and the last thing these financial institutions want is a bad actor investing on their platform for a number of reasons. Well, if you can solidify identity in the developing world of these investors, load the identity into the blockchain, again, a single source of truth that will never be questioned again. And the fourth and final area that I see as having the most dramatic impact on the developing world is through anti-corruption. So I'm sure I don't need to illustrate to you or your audience how many times funds donated by nations in the developed world to the developing world go through the process of being hijacked and put into other areas that were not designated for that particular payment. The book Secrecy World goes into the details of the Panama Papers, which is just corruption on hyperscale. It's very depressing. It's a very depressing read to see how long these these leaders in the developing world have gotten away with this corruption. But if a country such as the United States wants to make a significant donation to agricultural improvement in Nigeria, for example, the United States can mandate that those funds stay in cryptographic form, and they'll be able to trace the whole chain of where those funds are invested, divested, and paid out. So they'll be able to keep an eye on the funds, on the donations of those countries to the more struggling countries on a real-time basis, and it will basically curtail corruption at that scale. So it's a lot, but those are the four primary areas that I see.